Okay, so even if you follow the news pretty closely, right? Some headlines use terms that, well, they feel familiar, but maybe you don't always catch the full weight behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Take something like incumbent faces backlash amid partisan stalemate over proposed austerity measures.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
It is. And these aren't just, random words. They're signposts pointing to deeper things happening, political stuff, economic shifts, social tension.
That you can easily miss if you just skim past.
Exactly. And the news, I mean, it's our main window on the world, but sometimes the language itself feels like a wall. It can leave you feeling a bit disconnected, maybe.
Blocked out, yeah, from the really crucial discussions.
Right. So today, we want to give you the keys to unlock those layers.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about news language is how efficient it is. This deep dive, we've drawn on a lot of research looking at, well, 10 of the most powerful, most frequent, and sort of conceptually critical words that you see almost daily. And the goal isn't just basic definitions. We're going much deeper. A kind of focused investigation for each one, its core meaning, the subtle nuances, who it hangs out with, common word pairing.
Collocations, yeah.
Exactly. And its sort of linguistic family. The idea is to equip you with this powerful decoding toolkit. So you see a headline, and boom, you can instantly grasp the main theme, the central conflict.
I like that. A decoding toolkit. So our mission today, basically, is to turn you into a code breaker.
Right.
By the end of this, you won't just have 10 new words rattling around. You'll actually have the key to unlock that door, to really understand the news, to turn it from maybe a source of confusion into, hopefully, a source of knowledge and confidence.
Yeah, seeing the story behind the words.
Exactly. Seeing the full story, not just the surface.
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier there's a kind of method to the madness with headline language. What are some of those unique constraints, and why do they make these particular words so vital?
That's a great way to put it. It really boils down to a few core demands on journalists, on headline writers.
Yeah.
First, brevity is king.
Right. Space is tight.
Totally. You've got to pack maximum information into minimum characters. So that forces them towards short, powerful, often dramatic words. Think probe, not investigation, or maybe clash instead of disagreement.
Punchier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Second, impact is everything. Headlines have one job initially, grab your attention. So they lean towards vivid, sometimes emotionally charged vocabulary.
Makes sense.
Third, there's often assumed context. A single word might stand in for a really complex political idea or economic concept because there's an assumption the reader kind of gets the background.
Right. They expect you to know some things already.
Mm-hmm. And finally, a technical term is nominalization. But basically, headlines often turn actions into things. They prefer nouns over verbs. So instead of saying, they began to investigate, you'll read, investigation launched.
Quicker, more direct.
Exactly. It's punchier, delivers the info fast.
Yeah.
And these 10 words we're about to explore, they thrive in that kind of environment. Concise, impactful, packed with meaning.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, they're like these little linguistic power packs for complex ideas. And you'll notice as we go through them, they tend to cluster in key areas like the main stages where the news drama plays out. You've got politics and power, the ever-shifting world of economy and business,
Right.
and then that often, let's say, fraught arena of social conflict and change. So let's kick things off in the political landscape. Our first word here in the political zone is incumbent. Now, this isn't just a simple label, is it? What makes incumbent such a powerful and precise term in those political headlines?
You're absolutely right. It's incredibly potent. Incumbent tells you, like instantly, who holds the power that's being contested right now.
Okay.
It completely frames the narrative. Whether it's used as an adjective, the incumbent president, or as a noun standing alone, the incumbent faces. And it almost always sets up this kind of David versus Goliath situation. It immediately signals there's a challenge to power happening, whether it's an election or maybe a policy fight.
And there's that incumbency advantage idea, too.
Exactly. Often, this person benefits from that. Things like name recognition, they have staff already, they can generate positive press. It just makes them harder to beat.
Okay, let's see it in action. Here's a headline. Incumbent faces tough primary challenge from progressive newcomer.
Right. So this decodes instantly, too.
Yeah.
The person currently holding the office is being challenged for their own party's nomination
Inside the party.
by someone new who's positioned as more left-leaning, more progressive. It clearly signals an internal power struggle.
Okay, and how about this one? Polls show incumbents' approval ratings slipping amid economic woes.
Again, immediate takeaway.
Mm.
The person who's currently in power is losing popularity, specifically because the economy isn't doing well. It suggests they're vulnerable.
Got it. So for you listening, the mental shortcut for incumbent could be the current office holder who is being challenged.
Perfect.
And it works as both a noun, the incumbent, and an adjective, the incumbent candidate. And you might also see incumbency, which just refers to the state of holding that office. Okay, so we've nailed down incumbent. It flags who has the power and often who's trying to take it. And when those challenges pop up, especially in politics, things can get pretty heated. Which leads us nicely to our next word, partisan.
Mm-hmm.
This adjective, it means fiercely supporting one specific political party or group or cause. It implies this really strong bias, the kind that gets in the way of cooperation. Why is this word so central to understanding political news today?
Well, it's central because so much of modern politics is defined by party conflict, right?
Yeah.
And partisan is the instant signal for that battle, the us versus them dynamic.
Okay.
And crucially, it almost always carries a negative vibe, a negative connotation. It suggests, blind loyalty, refusing to compromise, digging your heels in. You'll often see it contrasted with its opposites. Bipartisan, it's usually positive, meaning two parties are actually agreeing or cooperating. Or nonpartisan, also positive, meaning free from any party bias.
Ah, okay. The contrast is key.
Yeah. So partisan bickering derails bill. That's a clear signal of failure. But bipartisan agreement reached. That signals something positive is happening.
Gotcha. Okay, headline time. Hopes for climate bill fade amid deeply partisan divide.
That tells you straight away. A proposed law on climate change is probably going down the drain because the main political parties just refuse to work together. It signifies political failure.
Makes sense. And a more positive one. Senate achieves rare bipartisan breakthrough on gun control legislation.
Okay, this flags a pretty significant and positive event. It means opposing parties, who usually fight tooth and nail over gun laws, have actually managed to agree on something new.
Big deal in that context.
Huge deal, yeah.
All right, so for everyone listening, when you see partisan, think conflict between political parties, usually negative. And when you see bipartisan, think cooperation between political parties, usually positive.
Exactly.
And it functions mostly as an adjective, partisan, bipartisan, nonpartisan, but sometimes you might see the noun like a partisan or partisanship. Okay, let's shift gears now. Moving into our second domain, the economy, business, and finance. This is where the language can get really impactful, sometimes a bit jargony. These next words should help clear things up. Our third keystone word is austerity. Now, this is a noun, and it refers to a set of economic policies a government puts in place to cut its budget deficit, usually by slashing public spending, maybe raising taxes, or both. What makes austerity such a charged and significant word in the news?
Oh, it's incredibly charged because it represents this common but intensely controversial government response to an economic crisis. It immediately signals economic pain is coming, that there are difficult choices ahead for ordinary people.
The tightening the belt idea?
Exactly, but applied to a whole country's finances. And crucially, these aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. Austerity measures mean real cuts to things people rely on: healthcare, education, social services.
Yeah, the human impact.
Right. Which almost always leads to public protests, sometimes significant social unrest. The whole news story around austerity inevitably revolves around this fundamental debate. You have proponents saying, look, it's tough medicine, but necessary for fiscal health, and opponents saying, no, this harms the most vulnerable and actually makes recessions worse.
It really throws the human cost of economic policy into sharp relief. Okay, so a headline like, government unveils new budget with sweeping austerity measures.
That translates to, the government has just announced a new spending plan, and it's going to involve major cuts to public services. The article that follows will likely detail where the axe is falling and what the expected reaction might be.
Okay. Or this. Thousands march in Capitol to protest austerity and pension cuts.
Super clear. This indicates the government spending cuts have triggered a large public demonstration, and the protesters are specifically angry about cuts to retirement benefits.
Got it. So when you encounter austerity, your immediate thought should be government spending cuts, likely leading to public anger and protests.
Pretty much sums it up.
And it's mainly used as a noun, though the adjective austere, meaning simple or severe, exists, but it's less common in the specific economic context. All right, our fourth word is volatility. This is a noun describing something, usually a market being liable to change rapidly and unpredictably, often for the worse. Volatility always brings to mind those crazy up and down charts you see on financial news channels.
Yeah, the jagged lines.
Exactly. But it signals something deeper than just numbers jumping around, doesn't it? It's about fundamental uncertainty.
Precisely. It's not just the movement. It's the underlying anxiety, the unpredictability that can really shake investor confidence and, well, entire markets. A good way to picture volatility in finance is maybe like a volatile liquid, something that can suddenly flare up or evaporate. The market can shoot up or crash down without much warning. That's why investors see it as a key measure of risk.
Makes sense. An investor's enemy, basically.
Generally, yeah. It represents unpredictability.
Yeah.
And while finance is its main home, you do see it used more broadly sometimes, like political volatility or maybe describing a volatile situation.
Okay, let's decode a headline. Stock market experiences extreme volatility amid inflation fears.
This means the stock market is making wild swings, big ups, big downs, very quickly. And the root cause is investors getting nervous about rising prices, about inflation.
Got it. And another, analyst warns of increased volatility in oil prices following geopolitical tensions.
Right. This signals an expert is predicting that the price of oil is about to become much more unstable, much less predictable, because of political conflicts happening in important oil-producing regions.
Okay, so when you see volatility in a financial headline, the instant takeaway is unstable, unpredictable, and risky market behavior.
Nailed it.
And the noun is volatility. The adjective is volatile. All right, moving on to our third domain, social conflict, change, and public opinion. This is where we find the words that capture how society argues, shifts, and sometimes, fractures. Our fifth keystone word, backlash. This noun means a strong, widespread, negative reaction to some kind of social, political, or maybe corporate development. In this age of instant online reaction, what makes backlash such a potent and immediate signal in news headlines?
Oh, it's the go-to word, really, for that powerful wave of public anger or criticism or opposition. It often signals a major PR disaster unfolding in real time. Think of the lash in the word like the crack of a whip. It suggests something sharp, painful, reactive. A backlash is always a reaction to something specific.
Yeah.
Maybe a controversial ad campaign, an offensive comment someone made, an unpopular new rule. Exactly. There's always a trigger. And today, you absolutely cannot separate backlash from social media. It often involves hashtags trending, viral outrage, calls for boycotts, that whole digital storm.
It perfectly captures that collective public outcry, often online. Okay, let's decode. Tech giant faces widespread backlash over new privacy policy.
This tells you a huge tech company is dealing with a massive, angry public reaction because they changed the rules about how they use people's data. The company is likely in full crisis management mode.
Yeah, you can picture the tweets flying. Or, university walks back tuition hike following student backlash.
This shows the power of it. It means the university actually reversed its decision to increase fees, specifically because the students reacted so negatively and strongly. Public pressure worked.
Right. So when you see backlash, think. A strong, angry public reaction to something recent, often amplified online.
That's the essence of it.
And it's pretty much always used as a noun. You don't really see other forms. Okay, next up, word number 6. To bolster. This is a verb, and it means to support, strengthen, or reinforce something. It feels like a keystone word because the news is constantly reporting on things getting stronger or weaker economies, armies, arguments, you name it. What makes bolster a bit more, impactful than just saying support or boost?
Well, it's partly that it sounds a bit more concise and sophisticated, but there's also an image behind it. A bolster is actually a long, thick pillow, right, used to support your back. And the verb carries that same feeling, making something more solid, more secure, propping it up. And often, the context implies that the thing being bolstered was maybe a bit weak or insufficient beforehand.
Right, they needed the help.
Exactly. You see it a lot in economic context, military situations, political support scenarios.
Makes sense. Okay, headline. Central bank cuts interest rates in bid to bolster flagging economy.
This signals the country's main bank is taking a big step, cutting interest rates specifically to try and strengthen an economy that's currently weak or flagging.
Okay, another one. New evidence emerges to bolster the prosecution's case.
Right. This means new information has just come to light, and it's expected to make the legal argument being put forward by the state's lawyers much stronger, much more convincing.
Got it. So, for our listeners, when you spot to bolster, the immediate thought is to make something stronger or reinforce it.
Perfect.
And its family is mainly the verb to bolster. The noun a bolster exists, but it's much less common in news headlines. Okay, our seventh word is stalemate. This noun describes a situation where basically nobody can move forward. Opposing sides are stuck, progress seems impossible, it's a deadlock. This word feels like it could apply to almost any kind of unresolved conflict, right?
It really does, and that's why it's a keystone. It perfectly captures that very common outcome of conflict, where both sides are just stuck. It leads to gridlock, inaction, frustration.
Where does the word come from?
It actually comes from chess. A stalemate happens when a player whose turn it is has no legal moves they can make, but their king isn't actually in check. The game just stops.
Ah, okay. Stuck.
Exactly. And the feeling it conveys in news is always one of frustration, a lack of resolution. It's inherently a story about failure to advance, failure to agree. You see it everywhere. Political stalemates, blocking laws, negotiation stalemates where nobody compromises, even military stalemates where neither army can gain ground.
Okay, real-world example. Budget negotiations reach stalemate as deadline looms.
This tells you the opposing sides trying to agree on the government's budget are completely stuck. No agreement is possible right now, and a critical deadline is getting closer, which could even lead to a government shutdown if it's not resolved.
High stakes. And another. After months of fighting, war in the East grinds to a bloody stalemate.
Yeah, a grim one. This means the military conflict has reached a point where neither side seems capable of winning. It's become a prolonged standstill, with likely continued casualties, but no decisive progress.
Right. So when you see stalemate, think. Stuck. No progress. Deadlock.
That's the core.
And like backlash, it's almost always just used as a noun. Word number 8 is to PRB. Now this can be a verb or a noun, meaning to investigate or examine something thoroughly. A probe itself is a thorough investigation. This feels like classic headlinese, short, punchy, sounds dramatic. How is it different from just a regular investigation?
Well, it's definitely the go-to word for an official inquiry, especially after some kind of wrongdoing or maybe a major failure or disaster is suspected. It carries a stronger sense of purpose and often, suspicion.
Okay.
Think about the image again. A probe can be a long, thin surgical instrument, right? Used to explore a wound, find out what's wrong deep inside.
Okay. Gets to the heart of it.
Exactly. The word carries that sense of deep, careful, maybe even painful exploration to uncover a hidden truth. It's almost always a formal, official investigation. Government, regulators, special committees, not just some casual digging. And launching a probe strongly implies there's a suspicion of something illegal or unethical or negligent going on.
Right. It suggests something's wrong. Okay, let's decode. Justice Department launches probe into airlines' anti-competitive practices.
That clearly means a government agency, the DOJ, is starting a formal investigation to see if a particular airline broke the law by unfairly trying to eliminate competition, maybe create a monopoly.
Got it. Or CEO resigns amid ethics probe.
This indicates the head of a company has quit their job. And the reason is because they are personally the subject of a formal investigation into potentially unethical behavior.
Okay. So when you see probe, the key takeaway is a formal investigation into suspected wrongdoing or a major failure.
Spot on.
And its family includes both the verb to probe and the noun a probe. All right, number 9 on our list today is TOVOW. This is a verb meaning to make a very solemn, serious promise or determination to do something. Again, this feels like another piece of classic headline language. What gives it more punch than just saying someone promised or said they'd do something?
It's definitely shorter, like you said, and more dramatic, but it also conveys a much stronger sense of determination, of resolve. This word carries real emotional weight. It's often used when someone is responding to a tragedy or a crisis or a really big challenge. People vow to do difficult things, find a cure, get justice, fight corruption, rebuild.
Serious commitments.
Exactly. And when the media reports that a leader has vowed to do something, it's kind of creating a public record of that promise. It puts pressure on them, holds them accountable down the line.
Makes sense. Okay, headline example. Following devastating hurricane, governor vows to rebuild stronger.
This means the state's leader has made a very strong public promise, not just to repair the damage from the hurricane, but actually to improve the infrastructure, make it better than before.
Okay, and police chief vows full investigation after a controversial shooting.
Right. This indicates that, likely in response to public anger or questions about a police shooting, the head of the police department has made a serious public promise to conduct a really thorough and transparent inquiry into what happened.
Got it. So when you see to vow, think
Mm,
a serious and dramatic promise, often made in response to a crisis.
that captures it well.
And its family includes the verb to vow and the noun avow.
Wow.
Okay, finally, our 10th keystone word. Looming, this is an adjective, comes from the verb to loom, and it describes a threat or a deadline or some significant event that's about to happen and feels kind of threatening or ominous. Why is looming such a favorite for headline writers? It seems to pop up all the time.
It does,
Oh.
because news just thrives on suspense, right?
Yeah.
On impending drama. Looming creates that sense of tension, of anticipation.
Yeah, what's coming?
Exactly. Think of the image. A large, dark, maybe indistinct shape appearing out of the fog. It's big, it's getting closer, and it feels threatening.
Okay.
Looming is basically never used for happy events. It's reserved for negative or stressful things, deadlines that could cause problems, crises about to break, storms on the horizon, that sort of thing. And the word also carries this suggestion of inevitability, like this thing is definitely coming, you can't avoid it.
That sense of unavoidable danger or pressure. Okay, let's look at automakers and union face looming strike deadline.
This tells you a really critical deadline is approaching fast in the negotiations between car companies and their workers' union. And if they don't reach a deal by that deadline, a very disruptive strike is about to happen. It feels imminent.
Right. And how about this one? It combines two of our words. With a government shutdown looming, partisan talks remain at a stalemate.
Yeah, the double whammy. This means a critical deadline is coming up, one that will cause the government to stop functioning. The shutdown is looming. And adding to the tension, the opposing political parties, partisan talks, are completely stuck, stalemate, making the crisis feel almost unavoidable. It's a really powerful, concise way to paint a grim picture.
Wow, yeah, packs a punch.
Okay.
So when you see looming, the instant decode is a large negative event is about to happen.
That's the core feeling, yes.
And its family includes the verb to loom, and most commonly in headlines, the adjective looming. Okay, so we've really unpacked these 10 words: incumbent, partisan, austerity, volatility, backlash, bolster, stalemate, probe, vow, and looming. We've looked at the nuances, seen them in action, but just understanding them intellectually, that's only the first step, right?
Mm.
What's next? How can people listening make these words really stick, make them a permanent part of how they read the news every day?
Yeah, that's the crucial part, moving from passive understanding to active use.
Yeah.
To really master these, you need to actively integrate them. So first, I'd suggest trying the headline hunter method.
Okay, sounds intriguing.
Yeah, for the next week maybe, just actively scan the headlines from major English news sources,
Yeah.
specifically looking for these 10 words. Every time you spot one, actually copy down the headline and then just write a quick one-sentence decoding underneath it in your own words. What does it really mean?
Ah, I like that. It forces you to process it.
Exactly. It trains your brain not just to see the word, but to instantly recognize its meaning and significance in that context. Moves it towards active recognition.
That's great. It turns just reading the news into a bit of an active learning game.
Precisely. It reframes how you engage. Then there's the reverse engineering technique. This one's a bit more creative.
Okay.
Find a news story with a really simple, basic headline, and then challenge yourself. Can you rewrite that headline using at least one of our keystone words to make it sound more like a real punchy news headline?
Ooh, okay. So the simple headline was, current president is unpopular because of the bad economy.
Right. You can maybe transform that into something like, incumbent faces public backlash amid looming recession. Say, you've used incumbent, backlash, and looming.
Nice. Yeah, that forces you to think like a journalist almost, to use the vocabulary actively and creatively.
Exactly. It really cements the meaning and usage.
That sounds like a fun challenge, actually. It makes you engage on a totally different level.
And finally, for long-term retention, consider using the spaced repetition system, SRS. Think digital flashcards, maybe using an app like Anki, which is popular for language learning.
Okay, but not just word definition cards.
No, definitely not. Much more effective is using closed deletion, basically. Fill in the blank cards using real headlines that you found.
Ah, okay. So the front of the card might show something like, the president embarked on a diplomatic tour to international alliances.
Exactly. And the back of the card would just show the missing word, bolster. This forces active recall. It tests if you know which word fits naturally in that authentic context, which is way more powerful than just memorizing a definition in isolation.
Okay, 3 really practical strategies there: headline hunter, reverse engineering, and spaced repetition flashcards. So let's wrap this up. The big takeaway here really seems to be that the language of the news, it isn't some kind of impenetrable fortress. It's a code, absolutely. But like any code, it can be learned by getting a handle on these 10 keystone words we discussed. Incumbent, partisan, austerity, volatility, backlash, bolster, stalemate, probe, vow, and looming. You now genuinely have a powerful set of keys. Keys to unlock countless headlines you see every single day.
Yeah, it's empowering.
It really is. It's more than just, a vocabulary list. It's an active empowerment. It lets you move beyond being just a passive receiver of information.
To becoming an active, critical consumer of news.
Exactly. You have the tools now to understand the subtleties, the political struggles, the economic stakes, the dynamics of social conflicts that are packed into those few headline words.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the more you read with this awareness, the more you'll start to see it. You'll see that the news, for all its apparent complexity, often tells the same fundamental stories over and over again.
Right. Patterns emerge.
Yeah. Stories of power and challenge, stories of conflict and cooperation, crisis and response. And you now have the language to really understand those core narratives as they unfold day by day.
Yeah.
The code's been broken, essentially. Those headlines, they don't need to be a source of confusion anymore. They're a window,
Right.
and you now have the clarity to actually see through it.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with is, what new insights will you gain? What deeper understanding will you unlock now that you have these keys to decode the daily headlines?